Well, whether it's hot, whether it's cold, whether it's hot, Frankie's got the weather we got. Wait a minute. Well, whether it's cold, whether it's hot, Frankie's got the weather or not.
Ryan Voutilainen down in Vancouver. Ryan, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the show. Ryan.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited that I'm finally here and could finally make it happen.
Yeah, we finally convinced you. I was like, now that it just took enough money, and then he finally signed the contract and he's here. So we're going to get Ryan to talk all about, well, where have you been recently? We'll eventually we'll get to like your life story and whatnot, but just give us your last couple months of rundown of what you've been doing in the weather-wide world.
Nobody wants to hear about my last weather-wide experience when I went to Mexico. So we're going to quickly gloss over that because I just got back from there. That was great. But no, this winter has been spent dealing with some fun windstorms here on the state side, on the Washington and Oregon coast. I was joking earlier with some of our friends here that I use this term too far south, and it seemed to be most of this winter, most of the storms for me have been too far south, and I've had to go on the American side of the border and do some chasing down there, including during the bomb cyclone that happened in November. But got some cool video of some trees falling on power lines, nice close up, and almost got whacked in the face by power lines swinging around. Those are the things mean business when they're coming down, I'll tell you that. Got some of that on ABC News. More recently, in the beginning of, I spent Valentine's Day with 600 of my closest friends in Kansas City, actually Overland Park, Kansas, and for the National Storm Chaser Summit in the United States, and met a whole bunch of people. And of course, I went there, and a lot of people already knew who I was already, which was great. I went there last year too, but and connected with some people that I haven't met before, including one of the more famous ones, Ice Cyclone, Josh Morgerman, who loves to do hurricane chasing. So that's kind of been my winter, and the beginning of this year in a nutshell so far.
Okay, Ryan, our esteemed guest from Vancouver. First, I want to let you brag to everybody about your trip to Mexico. How was it?
Mexico was amazing. It was nice to have a break in the sunshine, not worry about what's going on for the weather, because it was a typical 28 degrees as a high, or 82 Fahrenheit if you'd rather, and lows of around 18, which was perfect. It was great to be out until 4, maybe 5 or 6 a.m. and miss half the morning.
It's a busy travel time this week because of March break.
Yes, I don't go during March break.
Yes, me neither, really. So you talked about doing some storm chasing on the Washington and Oregon coast over the fall. Or in the winter? What imagery do you think you're most proud of from those chases?
Well, I'm proud of a few. It depends on what you're looking for. And the one I'm most proud of is the one that made it on ABC News. It was broadcast across the United States. Was on the night of what they're affectionately calling the Cascadia bomb, which is interesting, kind of a good transition from an earthquake to our weather. And that was in November, where they were seeing cross cascade winds over 70, 90 miles an hour. And it was blowing down trees everywhere in the eastern portions of the Puget Sound along the foothills. And we were in Enumclaw on a side road, and one of the trees came down, and it was literally about 50 feet in front of us, dangling and hanging on the wires while we were recording. And we made sure that the windows were closed on the one side, knowing that there may be a risk. And the tree eventually snapped the lines, and lines went flying everywhere, sparks all over the place, and a bit of fun. A moment of terror ensued for about 2 seconds, and then we kind of got out of there. So that was kind of the most memorable for me. That said, we did have a couple of other fun days where we were out in La Push. Ended up having a couple of others that already made it onto the coast. We had myself and a gentleman, Jonathan Pulley from Whidbey Island, we had to actually do a whole detour because a tree had fallen down on the highway and we were the first persons to come across. But when we got down to the beach, the sea foam was being blown so much it made it look like we were in a blizzard. People were like, "Is that snow?" And we're like, "No, it's sea foam that's just blowing so fast in the 70-mile-an-hour winds." That was pretty exciting. Last but not least, and this is the one that burns. You haven't asked me this, but the one that burned was the day that I went down onto the Washington coast, down to Cape Disappointment. But if you've never been, I recommend it. The scenery is amazing, got incredible wave photos. But while we were there, we were looking at radar and we were looking at this couplet with this cell over the water. And we're like, "Oh, that looks like it might have some rotation." Nah, it doesn't look that great. We were convinced otherwise, only to find out that, and we were looking at the cloud, we could see it. And we're like, "Oh, well, maybe it is. Maybe you should go chase this." No. We kind of convinced ourselves that it wasn't going to. And then as we're driving home, we see video of this water spout that was off the coast. And then one of a rare tornado warning was issued near Aberdeen, Washington, just before we had got there. We tried to catch up, but we missed it.
Yeah, that sucks. So you've been out to La Push and whatever. So does this make you a Twilight fan?
No, I've never watched Twilight.
My cousin grew up in Port Angeles, where Twilight is set, and they all hate it out there because of all the tourism that came from it.
I live in Vancouver. It's Hollywood North. There's filming going on everywhere. So
yeah, that's true. Okay, so you convince me to go storm chasing with you on the prairies this summer.
Convinced you? I don't think I need to. There's no. Number one,
what makes it so great?
What makes it so great
going all the way out there
is, well, first off, the road network is amazing, except for, I might touch on my fact that I got stuck on the South Saskatchewan River trying to cross over. But the road network in Alberta and Saskatchewan is pretty great when it comes to chasing these storms. You've got some really great options, great for safety, north, south, east. Well, not really north, you're going to go south or east, typically, escape options, that sort of thing. And there's fewer people on the roads. And that is another great thing. There's none of this. There is there will be days where you'll run into a few chasers in the morning or while you're waiting for things to kind of get going. But then after that, you'll start, if you want to chase solo, you can head out and you might not see anybody until you decide that, hey, I'm done for the day. Let's meet up and figure out where everybody is. Otherwise, you may not see anybody. So it's a great opportunity to be out there. And if you like to get away and not be around people, it's that kind of fun chasing opportunity. The other beautiful thing is that many of the storms on the prairies, except maybe around Hale Alley and between Calgary and Edmonton, or Red Deer rather, the thunderstorms tend to be fairly low precipitation as well. So you get some fun sculpted clouds, and if you were lucky to see a tornado drop, you're not dealing with a whole bunch of rain-wrapped garbage. Generally, it does sometimes happen, but you're able to see these more photogenic type storms on the Canadian prairies than you might see farther south in places like Oklahoma or Texas, where they're dealing with that Gulf humidity, which kind of shrouds things quite often.
Well, not only that, you can like park in somewhere like Nanton or go park up in the Porcupine Hills, and with line of sight, look up this long line up the Rockies and pick which cell is it going to actually be that does something interesting. Mm-hmm. And then go and get there in time and be there. And I just found that like really easy chasing. Well,
I was joking with some other storm chasers earlier this week, talking about what's going on with NOAA and the National Weather Service. And we were talking about, well, in Alberta, it's easy. You just need to park yourself in Sundre or in Rocky Mountain House and then just wait. And then you head east and everything goes in that direction. So you're pretty good set up that way too when it comes to storms, because they all kind of form with that little lilo that forms in the lee of the Rockies. And then you can follow them all the way out past Brandon, past Hank, and make it all the way to Manitoba if you want the following day.
All right. Well, thank you for that. You almost have me convinced. Almost.
And last but not least, you get to go with me.
Oh, well, there you go. That's it.
Right there.
So people obviously don't know that Ryan and I were hanging out the other day. Of course, he's up in Vancouver and I'm in White Rock, so we're not too far away. And we were walking. What street was that? That's all the fancy shops near your place.
Oh, on Alberni Street.
Yeah, so we were on Alberni Street and we found this building has it looks like a big clock above the door, but it's actually an anemometer and it's a display and it shows how, and they've got an anemometer on the roof and it's a sonic anemometer too. It's new. The readout looks like it's maybe from the 80s or something, but the anemometer on the roof is a recent model sonic anemometer, and we, in the middle of downtown Vancouver, it's not gonna show appropriate or very high winds, but it was 10 kilometers or an hour or whatever. That was really cool. So I'm gonna open it up first to our most resident storm chaser, Hank, to see if you have any interesting questions or thoughts for Ryan.
I have a comment first. You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He was talking about how if you wanted to, you could stay clear of other chasers when you chase on the prairies. And in my area, it's especially like that. I'm not very close to the U.S. border, and I'm in western Saskatchewan, and it's a very sparsely populated area. And our highways out here are so empty. And for me, chasing near my town, if I chase, 30 times in a summer, out of those 30 times, there might be only 2 where I actually see some other chaser other than myself, 2 out of those 30 when I'm spending all day out there.
And you have to remind yourself that you can see people 60, 70 kilometers down the highway. It's so flat in Saskatchewan.
If I see anyone, it's more than likely Jenny, who was a friend of the program. Yeah. She's the one I see most often.
When I was in Nebraska, they called that they used a measure of distance called a farkancy, which was as far as you could see. And one time we asked how to get to a town that was north of the city we lived in. Well, I shouldn't say city; it was like 3,000 people, but north of the city that we lived in. And the guy was like, "Oh, you just go 3 farkancies up Highway 14, turn right, and it's a couple miles down the highway." And sure enough, the first farkancy was the grain elevator of the next town, and then the second one was the top of a hill, and the third one was the top of a hill, and at the top of the third hill you turn right on this highway and you get to St. Edward. I don't know if you have farkancies in Saskatchewan, but that's some flat country out there. It doesn't matter if you're in Nebraska or... It's funny driving up Alberta too, we did Cardston to Calgary, and it's on the left, absolutely beautiful mountains and everything, and on the right it's just flat canola for miles, or I guess for kilometers or whatever. I always wonder, they've got that restaurant in the water tower in Lethbridge, and I'm like, but what are you looking at? Canola, flat canola. Maybe
They've got a
Houck
great
knows.
Canyon in Lethbridge. It's wonderful.
Oh,
So not only did I not bump into other chasers ever in my prairie chases, the general reaction from the public was people pulling over, like, "Are you okay, son? Everything okay? Is your vehicle fine?" Yeah, I'm just watching that storm. It's about to make a tornado. You're doing what? Why?
Ryan talked about the road network, and the thing you do have to keep in mind is you have to have a little bit of a map of where the major rivers are in your brain. And you think about where you are in relation to the major rivers, because there's not very many bridges over them. So that's the one thing you can get trapped against, is not only a major river, but also some of the really long lakes.
So funny you should mention this. This was one of my frustrations from last summer. Was it June where's my photo here? June the 23rd. when there was a tornado just north of Radisson. But there was another one that was east of the South Saskatchewan, and I was driving from Warman heading east, and then all of a sudden, that's where the chaser convergence happened. There was a lineup of like 10 cars waiting to go on this little cable pulled ferry across the river as we're watching the storm speed away from us, and so that was the frustrating time because there were some other storm chasers from out that way that were able to get a water spout on one of the lakes that eventually turned into a tornado as well, just to the east of there. But sadly, we missed it.
You're 0 for 2 on water spouts on the show tonight.
I know. Water spouts aren't water spouts are not my. Apparently, I missed them all. So
hey, let's dig that hole a little deeper. What do you think about the UBC water spout that happened a couple of years ago?
Yeah. Let's say here we go. I wasn't in Vancouver. I was in Hawaii, watching this on radar.
Over 3.
But I'm like, there's no warning. There's no nothing, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm looking at this radar going, there is a really good couplet here on radar. There's got to be something crazy going on right now. Messaging people, tagging everybody I know, and sure enough, there was that water spout turned tornado that hit UBC. Yes, I missed that one as well.
We should point out for the uninitiated in the audience, when we talk about a couplet, we're talking about on the weather radar, we can see like wind speeds. And so a couplet is when there's wind going one direction really close to going the other direction. That's how we see rotation on the weather radar. So Brandon Houck also lives on the prairies. So let's get your questions or comments for Ryan.
Oh, yeah. Questions or comments. Okay. So I have to say, I really enjoy this area around here because all the storms come off the foothills and they keep on going. And about, I'd say, Gleason and Pisano, everybody decides to call it a day and go home while the storm rolls into my area and I get the storm to myself. It's kind of nice. That's how that works sometimes. But that isn't the case all the time. As I know we've had a couple of supercells roll up to 36 there. I think which ones were you in this area here? Were you on that?
Well, we can talk about Canada Day.
Canada Day. Oh, yes. Canada Day. Yes.
But hey, I don't know if I've got a question for you. I don't recall that the day that we had Mr. Britton and Mr. Howard following and almost like went right through your town and got, 10 tornadoes in one day?
Yes.
Did you get any?
I think I saw 2 that day.
Saw 2 that day?
My location right here. I had a bird's eye view from here.
In your puddle.
Brandon doesn't chase so much as just waits for them to come to him, and they do.
He's in a good spot.
Oh, yes. And then I have to broadcast them on the radio. So I say, oh, there's a tornado on the ground. And I jump on this microphone and talk about it and try to hide. But not really try to hide, but anyways.
It's better. Hey, I will tell you, it's better than sitting on a beach seeing what's going. Well, sitting on the beach was okay, but sitting on the beach seeing what was going on at home when you were 5,000 kilometers away.
Yeah, so really, if you're into storm chasing and you want to do so in the Lower Mainland, just ask Ryan when he's going to go out of town, and there you go. We're going to get a good storm.
He'll pick you up.
No, because he's gonna be out in Hawaii, so maybe he'll let you borrow his car.
In Finland.
Was it last year? It was last year. Was I in Finland last year? Yes, I was. I chased last year in Finland. Much to my partner's chagrin, because as we're landing, there are storms building up because you do the nocturnal flight, the night flight from Vancouver flew to Frankfurt and then flew into Helsinki from there. And so it was like perfect prime daytime heating day at 2:00 in the afternoon. And we got the rental car and I'm like, we're going storm chasing. He says, what? I'm going to go to bed. No, we went storm chasing, and I've done storm chasing in Finland as well. Done it in Australia, and of course on the prairies and plains. And anywhere I go, I'll do something. It can be a sunset. So doesn't always have to be about storms for me.
That was my first story about storm chasing in Finland I've ever heard.
There you go. No tornadoes that day. They do get water spouts are more their thing, and you know what my luck is with those. So,
what about the Frankie videos?
It's been a great show. It's been a great show. Frankie, how can people find you on the internet?
If you want to find me on social media, my Blue Sky's at Frankie McD. My ex-formerly Twitter's at Frankie McD. My link tree is Frankie McDonald. My Facebook is Frankie McDonald. My Threads is at Frankie McD94. My Instagram is at Frankie McD94. My TikTok is FrankDo94. My Clapper is FrankDo94. My Twitch is FrankDo94. My Snapchat is Frankie MECDON. My YouTube channel Stocks Wolves and my link is Frankie McDonald. Best luck to you. I'm Frankie Do. You're listening to Meteorological Weather Report every Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Atlantic.
That's right. You've been hearing us on C4 88.7 in Prince George, CKUW 959 in Winnipeg, and CFPX 925 Kamloops, and Joey Only Caribbean Weather Dude YouTube channel, of course, as well. And, you can find all of us on the internet. Ryan, you got like a place that you can find me at?
Certainly, you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Voutilainen. My last name is a mouthful, but there's also a lake in Thunder Bay that's named after that same last name. I'm also on Blue Sky at YVR WX Watcher, as well as on Instagram. Also, if you are in Vancouver and the Lower Mainland, we do have our Vancouver and the Lower Mainland Facebook page, which is ran by myself with support from Mark Ingalls. So if you're in the Lower Mainland and want weather reports or want to give us yours, then you're in the Lower Mainland, please join the page. We welcome you on board.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of that going on because like Brandon and Mark both help run Weather Watchers. You might as well become one of our moderators too. It's like eventually we're just all moderating each other's pages. We got to build this because like you're saying, it's like we can't go storm chasing down in the States anymore. So we got to build our networks up here more because now they're shutting down all the offices, all the weather service offices. There's going to be no weather down there. So that's how they plan to stop bad weather, is to turn off the weather machine. Anyways, any last word from anybody out on the panel?
This is the final minute left.
This is the final minute, the final painful minute. You can do it. We got to stall for one more minute. Someone say something funny.
Where's the joke? There was supposed to be some jokes coming on from Brandon. I haven't heard them. That said, it's my first opportunity to actually be here live with everybody. So thank you very much. And being able to finally meet the incomparable Frankie McDonald is amazing to actually be on the show with him. So